Hello, my name is Tasneem Khan and I am a graduate student in the Master of Arts in Professional Communication program at the University of San Francisco with a technical concentration. This presentation is for assignment 2, Emergent Media and Technology Artifact. In our course MAPC 636 Emergent Media and Technology Seminar under the guidance of Professor David Ryan. I have framed this project for a LinkedIn audience. Since LinkedIn is where professionals actively discuss technology, communication, and trust. The focus is explaining emergent media, what it is, what it does, and why trust matters. To support this work, I draw on current research including Fair's 2024 study on AI media, the Stanford AI Index 2025, the NIST AI Risk Management Framework, and Pew Research findings on workplace perspectives. With this foundation in place, let's move into the agenda and see how I have structured this video presentation. Agenda. In this presentation, I will guide you through the full scope of my assignment. I begin by defining emergent media and showing its everyday functions with real examples. Next, I explain the causes driving these changes along with their benefits and risks. I then compare traditional and emergent media to highlight what has fundamentally shifted. After that, I present 5 short domain-specific examples ranging from biotechnology to drones. The centerpiece of this assignment is my generative demo, the Provenance Badge, designed to show how trust can be made visible in AI-era media. I will also discuss the ethical and governance principles I apply: transparency, consent, privacy, safety, and accountability. Finally, I will conclude with 3 takeaways and a reference list grounding my arguments in authoritative sources. What I mean by emergent media. When I say emergent media, I mean still evolving media tools and practices that change how we communicate, create, learn, and verify information. It is not a single gadget, but the mix of AI, interfaces, sensors, and platforms that continually update our daily routines. For example, Google Maps. Live Views uses augmented reality or AR to overlay large arrows in the real world so we don't miss a turn. After a Zoom call, AI generates a meeting summary for the host, which we can review and edit instead of writing from scratch. Another example. On the iPhone, live captions transcribe audio across apps, improving accessibility in real time. And platforms are beginning to use provenance labels. For instance, YouTube has tested a captured with a camera tag using content credentials from C2PA standard. I view emergent media as a system where people, data, tools, and norms interact. This means we must consider usefulness and responsibility together, speed and access, but also trust, privacy, and fairness. Functions of emergent media. Emergent media is best understood not just by definition, but by what it actually does in our daily lives. Let me walk through 5 core functions. First, it creates and communicates faster. For example, Microsoft Copilot in Word can generate a first draft of a document instead of starting from a blank page. The human author now focuses on reviewing, refining, and shaping the content. That's a fundamental shift in workflow. Second, it blends the physical and the digital. This is where terms like augmented reality AR and mixed reality MR come in. A good example is IKEA Creative. It scans your room, lets you virtually remove furniture, and experiment with new layouts before you buy. This fusion of physical space with digital overlays is a hallmark of emergent media. Third, it expands access and participation. For instance, Android Live transcribes turns speech into text on the screen in real time. This supports people who are deaf or hard of hearing. But it also helps anyone trying to follow a meeting in a noisy environment. It shows how inclusion is built directly into the function of emergent media. Fourth, it builds trust and traceability. Some new cameras like the Lysa M11P can embed content credentials C2PA at the moment of capture. The metadata allows audiences to verify where an image came from and whether edits were made. Provenance and verification are becoming functions in their own right. Finally, it delivers public warnings in time. An example is the USGS Shake Alert system, which pushes wireless emergency alerts to phones seconds before an earthquake's shaking arrives. These alerts provide people with a small but critical window to take protective action. So across these functions, we see a pattern. Emergent media is not only about speed and convenience, but also about inclusion, safety, and trust. Causes and effects, benefits versus risks. Now that we have seen what emergent media does, let's step back and ask, why is this happening? And what are the outcomes? On the causes side, three things stand out. First, according to the Stanford AI Index 2025, AI research and investment are surging. That's why we are seeing faster tools and new features roll out so quickly. Second, AI is being built directly into our devices. For example, Google Pixel Live Translate can perform real-time translation and captioning on the phone itself without sending everything to the cloud. And third, governance framework are already in place. NIST's AI Risk Management Framework 2023, along with its generative AI profile, gives organizations practical guidance for managing risks. Now, what about the effects? On the benefits side, two examples stand out. Language access in real time. Pixel's Live Translate overlays instant translations on your screen, helping people communicate across languages in everyday situations. Accessibility through visual help. The Be My Eyes app combines AI with a global volunteer network to provide blind and low vision users with real-time descriptions of what's around them. On the risk sides, we need to be cautious. AI voice cloning fraud is already a major issue. The FTC 2024 has issued consumer alerts and even launched a voice cloning challenge to combat scams. Over-reliance and misalignment are also risks. NIST 2023 warns about automation bias and poorly designed human AI hands-off that can create errors instead of reducing them. And there is worker trust. Pew Research 2025 reports that US workers today are more worried than hopeful about AI's role in the workplace. So the big picture is the emergent media offers powerful benefits but only if paired with strong guardrails: transparency, consent, testing, and accountability. That balance is how we protect trust while moving forward. Traditional versus emergent media. Compare and contrast. Now let's compare traditional media with emergent media to see what has really changed. First, production. Traditional media was mostly editor-driven and finite. Think of a newspaper front page or the nightly TV bulletin. In emergent media, production looks very different. It relies on networked creators and AI-assisted workflows that can be draft, edit, and translate content in real time. Second, distribution. Traditional media followed a one-to-many broadcast models with fixed schedules, what we used to call appointment viewing. Emergent media, on the other hand, is many-to-many platforms like YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram push content through algorithmic feeds, and for many audiences today, these feeds are the main gateways to news and culture. Third, interactivity. With traditional media, feedback came later. Audiences might send letters to the editor, give ratings, or wait for next day metrics. In emergent media, interactivity is instant. Real-time comments, live polls, and even A/B tests shape how content evolves right away. Fourth, the interface. Traditional systems relied on two-dimensional screens with very limited personalization. Emergent media is expanding into spatial and extended reality, or XR, where people can share 3D environments and experience co-presence far beyond flat pages. Fifth, accountability. Traditional media depended on editorial standards, broadcast rules, and bylines to signal responsibility. Emergent media needs accountability at scale. That means provenance tools like content credentials and the C2PA standard to show who made what and how, combined with governance frameworks such as the NIST AI Risk Management Framework to manage AI risk responsibly. And finally, audience habits. For decades, television and home pages dominated as entry points to news. Today, especially for younger generations, the starting point is social and video platforms. Scrolling feeds, not scheduled broadcasts, now shape how information is consumed. So if we step back, the contrast is clear. We have moved from stability and centralized control to speed, scale, and participatory ecosystems. Emergent media delivers immediacy and reach, but it also demands that provenance and trust keep pace with innovation. Now that I have defined emergent media, explained its functions, discussed causes and effects, and compared it with traditional media, I'd like to give you 5 real-world use cases that show how broad its impact really is. First, biotechnology and human enhancement. In 2023, the FDA approved CASGEVY, the first CRISPR-based gene therapy for sickle cell disease. This therapy edits a patient's own blood stem cell to reduce painful crisis. It's a powerful example of emergent biotechnology improving health, but it also raises important questions about long-term safety, equity, and access. Autonomous vehicles. Self-driving systems are advancing under regulatory oversight. In the US, NHTSA requires crash reporting for automated driving systems, and a Waymo Swiss re-study over 25 million miles found fewer insurance claims compared to human drivers. This shows clear promise, though outcomes depend on where and how these systems are deployed. Third, cross-reality systems or XR. This umbrella covers augmented reality AR, virtual reality VR, and mixed reality MR. For example, AR overlays digital information onto the real world. VR immerses us in a fully virtual environment, and MR anchors 3D objects into our physical space. According to SEM Computing Surveys 2023, XR fosters co-presence and collaboration, allowing people to interact with digital artifacts together in shared environments. Fourth, robotics in industry and healthcare. Robots are increasingly replacing or augmenting human labor in critical contexts. In factories, they support precision manufacturing and handle dangerous tasks. In healthcare, robot-assisted surgeries allow for minimally invasive procedures with higher accuracy. These are clear cases of emergent media technologies reshaping work and medicine. Fifth, drones in health and crisis response. Companies like Zipline are delivering blood and medicines to remote hospitals. These drones drop supplies by parachute, cutting delivery times dramatically. A difference that can save lives when every minute matters. So, across biotechnology, mobility, immersive XR, robotics, and drones, the message is clear. Emergent media is not limited to one field. It's transforming multiple domains at once. Now let me share the generative AI artifact I created for this assignment, the Provenance Badge. The purpose of this badge is to act as a quick trust signal in media players or image viewers. It communicates three simple but important pieces of information: the source of the file, the method, whether it was human, AI assisted, or fully AI generated, and the status, whether the file is verified with content credentials. For example, my demo card reads Source Studio Aria 2025, Method AI assisted status, verified with content credentials. Here is how I created it. According to the assignment requirement, we had to design an artifact using generative AI. I used ChatGPT to generate both the microcopy and the SVG code for the badge design. In other words, both the text and the visual design came from AI output. And I then reviewed, refined, and finalized it myself. This makes it a clear case of human-AI collaboration. Why is this useful? Because provenance, knowing where content came from and how it was created, is becoming central to digital trust. The Content Authenticity Initiative and the C2PA standard enables creators to attach tamper-evident credentials to files. Some cameras like the Lysa M11P already embed content credentials at the moment of capture. Platforms are testing it too. For instance, YouTube piloted a captured with a camera tag to signal authenticity. But there are also limits. Metadata can be stripped when content is reshared. Badges can be misunderstood by audiences, and verification only confirms process. It doesn't guarantee truth. That's why I connect this prototype to the NIST AI Risk Management Framework, which emphasizes transparency, accountability, and safeguards. So the takeaway here is that even a small AI-generated design like the Provenance Badge can help make trust more visible and scalable in the era of emergent media. Ethics and governance. are central to keeping emergent media both useful and trustworthy. I approach this through a set of guiding principles and then I apply them in practice. Let's begin with the principles. Transparency and provenance. Audiences should always know who created a piece of content and how it was made. Consent and control. Users deserve clear, simple choices with the ability to switch features on or off and revoke consent whenever needed. Privacy and security. The best approach is to collect less, protect more, and whenever possible, keep processing on the device rather than sending everything to the cloud. Safety and fairness. Systems must be tested for failures and bias before they are scaled to the public. Accountability and audit. Humans must remain in the loop, supported by logs and clear documentation of what has changed over time. Now, here is how I apply these principles in practice. Privacy by design is another principle. Visible microphone and camera indicators, simple delete or off buttons, and on-device captioning or translation features give users control. Before wide adoption, systems should undergo bias checks, red team testing, and what changed logs, which make updates visible and accountable. Finally, securing the edge is critical. Choosing IoT devices certified with the US Cyber Trust marks helps prevent weak links that can compromise trust. The bottom line: speed without accountability erodes trust. By combining transparency, privacy, careful testing, and audit, emergent media can move forward while protecting users and sustaining confidence. To conclude, there are 3 key points I want you to take away. First, emergent media is not a single gadget or trend. It is the evolving set of tools and practices. From AI and XR to sensors and provenance systems that shape how we communicate, create, learn, and verify information. Second, with speed and access comes responsibility. These technologies can increase efficiency, expand participation, and build new forms of connection, but they also raise concerns around provenance, privacy, safety, and fairness. Third, even a small prototype like a Provenance Badge demonstrates how accountability can be built into emergent media. By showing who created content, how it was made, and whether it is verified, such tools help audiences make more informed judgments in an AI-driven environment. The larger lesson is simple. Emergent media offers tremendous opportunity, but it only sustains public trust when innovation is matched with governance, transparency, and ethical design. Thank you, Professor David Ryan and my MAPC peers for engaging in this exploration of what emergent media means and why it matters today. And finally, for academic integrity, I want to note that all sources referenced in this presentation are listed in the end. Thank you.